Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. At least 14 people have been killed after being swept away by flash floods in Indonesia's North Sulawesi as the search for the missing continued. An official said heavy rain early on Monday triggered flash floods on the island of Siau, located in the region of Siau Tagulandang Biaro. 16 rescuers have been deployed to search for 4 people who remain missing, while 18 people have been injured so far. The United States has ended its long-standing guidance that all children receive vaccines against flu and 3 other diseases, a sweeping change that advances one of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s long-term goals. Public health experts warn the latest rollback could lead to preventable hospitalizations and deaths. The action removes the recommendation for rotavirus, influenza, meningococcal disease, and hepatitis A, and states that parents should consult healthcare providers under what it calls shared clinical decision-making. Republican US lawmakers have said that President Donald Trump does not plan to occupy or nation build in Venezuela after attending a briefing by top officials on the administration's policy toward the South American nation. Republican House of Representatives Speaker Mike Johnson of Louisiana told reporters after the classified session with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and other senior officials that there are no US armed forces in Venezuela, and the country is not occupying that country. Toppled Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has pleaded not guilty in a New York federal court to charges including narco-terrorism and drug trafficking. His wife, Cilia Flores, also entered a not guilty plea. Meanwhile, the UN Security Council debated the legality of the US raid that captured Maduro over the weekend. Russia and China condemned the operation, calling it a violation of international law, as global leaders weighed its implications for regional stability. On the other hand, Switzerland has frozen assets belonging to Nicolas Maduro and 36 of his associates. The Swiss government said the freeze is effective immediately for 4 years, targets potentially illicit funds, and does not affect other members of Venezuela's government. Authorities said any illicit assets would be returned to benefit the Venezuelan people, while urging restraint amid a volatile political situation in Caracas. US President Donald Trump says the United States may launch a second military strike on Venezuela following the capture of President Nicolas Maduro, if remaining members of the administration do not cooperate with his efforts to get the country fixed. Trump's comments to reporters aboard Air Force One raised the possibility of further US military interventions in Latin America, and suggested Colombia and Mexico could also face military action if they do not reduce the flow of illicit drugs to the United States. The Cuban government has said that 32 of its citizens have been killed during the US raid on Venezuela to extract President Nicolas Maduro for prosecution in the United States. Havana said there would be 2 days of mourning on January 5th and 6th in honor of those killed, and said funeral arrangements would be announced. The Cuban government statement gave few details, but said all the dead were members of the Cuban armed forces and intelligence agencies. Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, has invited the US government to collaborate on an agenda of cooperation in a statement on social media that struck a conciliatory tone following the US capture of President Nicolas Maduro. She said that Venezuela aspires to live without external threats and that she wanted to prioritize moving towards balanced and respectful relations with the United States. Greenland's leadership has pushed back hard against renewed remarks by US President Donald Trump about acquiring the Arctic island, saying its future cannot be decided by outsiders. The reaction follows a US Special Forces operation that captured Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro, an action that has raised concerns in Denmark about precedent. Trump, speaking aboard Air Force One, said he would revisit the Greenland issue in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, Greenland's Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, has warned that threats and annexation talk have no place between allies. On the other hand, Germany's Foreign Minister, Johann Wadepool, said Greenland belongs to Denmark and could fall under NATO's defence umbrella if needed. He added that any move to strengthen Greenland's security would be discussed within the alliance. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.